Hello Scorpio, and welcome to your year 2022 forecast. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. Now I'm going to give you some major themes that are going to be impacting on your situation, particularly the eclipses. We also have Jupiter moving and returning back into the sign of Pisces this year. And the North Node, and this is particularly critical for you, moves into your sector of relating as early as the 19th of January. Then we have the Mercury retrogrades, Mars, your traditional ruler, in a very bold and intense part of your situation from August the 20th through to the year end. So there's lots of exciting information to share with you. All of this, I hope, will give you the tools to negotiate the year and to capitalize on the opportunities, but also to know when there are some pitfalls too. Now, if you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honored if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. If you like your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, please subscribe on the link underneath this video. Or if you'd like to ascend above your zodiac forecast and embrace your personal year ahead for 22 based on your time, date and place of birth, please see the link below. You can get 30% off, and if you order it in year 2021, get the rest of that year free. I'll also give you a character analysis. Now, if you order your forecast in year 2022, don't worry, I will give you 12 months from the time of your order. So as we go into this new year, the important thing to understand is that the way eclipses work, the eclipse of the 4th of December 2021 is still very active as we enter the new year. And that showed a combination of energy in your second house. So the Sun and the Moon in Sagittarius combined, but also Mercury. Now Mercury is the planet of communication, of talk and thought, and obviously it can also be very helpful in giving us extra enthusiasm when it's in the sign of Sagittarius. Technically it's in a detriment here, but it's, I think, one of the least powerful debilitations. So I think that that particular eclipse gives you a lot to work with in this new year in terms of firming up your foundations and improving the cash flow into your situation, using the energy of Mercury to be very adaptive and to try to flex because of the mutability of Sagittarius to seize opportunities. But also, when that eclipse occurred, Pluto, your modern ruler, was conjoining with Venus, the planet of relating, but also of money, in the sign of Capricorn, which for you is house 3. So I think you're going to find yourself particularly effective this year when it comes to communication, as long as you mean what you say. And the reason why I put that caveat on it is because on the 19th of December, Venus went into a retrograde. But for the whole of year 2021 December, Venus and Pluto were side by side. So I think there was likely some very important conversations that went on, or are about to go on if you're watching this video, in year 2021. And as we make our way into the new dawn of the new year, that combination between Venus and Pluto is ongoing, and also Mercury is very close to them too. Now, of course, at every turn of the year we have the Sun in Capricorn. That's standard. For you, this is your sector of everyday communications. But Pluto, your modern ruler, has been in this sector since 2008, and it's given you quite a lot of food for thought, because the third house can be our sort of values in some ways, particularly our non-monetary values, and it's certainly where we're most passionate in terms of exchanging ideas when Pluto's in the mix. So to put the retreating Venus, Pluto and Mercury all together in Capricorn right as we start this new year suggests that your desire to express ideas is really going to be very strong this year. And although you can be secretive, is a word I prefer to avoid, you may not necessarily be very open about what you feel in terms of your own personal inner world. When it comes to interacting with others or saying how you feel about general strands, current affairs and so on, you can actually be very able to speak up. And I just think you're going to have quite a compelling way of getting ideas across that's going to last throughout the whole of 2022. So why is that? Well, it's simply because, Scorpio, is that when we have the solar return at the start of the year, it's rather like going to an art class and the tutor saying, on your canvas, put a watercolour over so we get a background colour, take your charcoal, outline the subject you want to paint or draw in greater detail, and they provide the structure for everything else that comes in. So the aspects and influences that follow as the year goes on, that's the colour and texture that builds up that picture into something more relatable. But the background shape is there from the off, and that I think is what the solar return represents. But there's more, because you can see on the screen from the wheel that your traditional ruler of Mars is alongside the moon in the second solar house of Sagittarius, so an echo of that solar eclipse of the 4th of December. So that Sagittarius energy is collaborating with that Capricorn energy, which is businesslike and practical and an earth sign, with the more philosophical energies of Sagittarius, which is expansive, enthusiastic. So we put the moon and Mars side by side. That can be a little bit of an unstable mix, but I certainly feel that if you need to speak out, particularly around your community or with your siblings, you're likely to do so in quite a vulnerable way. The midpoint between the receptive energies of the moon and the more go-getting energies of the sun, the moon Sagittarius, the sun Capricorn, is actually 28 degrees Sagittarius. So I think there's every chance your passion and your communication this year can improve your income, or at least the foundations of your world. But it may mean that you need to step forwards a little bit more, because Venus is retrograde. That doesn't mean to say that it's going to be unlucky. Venus is known as the lesser benefic and Jupiter the greater benefic. But Venus conjunct Pluto and the commerce energies of Mercury in the 3rd house suggest that technology, the sharing of ideas, perhaps you're someone who has got something important to say that you can sell, or something to do with sharing information or even goods can be part of what feeds into making you feel more secure. The 2nd house, a very Taurus energy that's activated by all that Sagittarius vibe. But also, as this year begins, you can see that the North Node is just in, and Jupiter is just in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is sector 5 for you, and the North Node sector 8. So that combination suggests that you could be enthusiastic, to say the least, about your romantic prospects, but it's also saying that you could be drawn towards someone who might not necessarily be the right person for you. And of course, the dominant influence of 2021 has been that square between Saturn and Uranus. Uranus in your sector of relating, Saturn in your sector of emotions and family. And if you have felt fenced in, if you felt like a romantic relationship was just all about the domestic side of things, and it hadn't got much passion or not much spontaneity, which is what Uranus represents or feeds off change and stimulation, independence. And if you felt pinned into some way of being that has felt a little bit reducing of your ability to be a free spirit, that square between Jupiter and the North Node at the start of the year, which is going to be active for the whole of this year, could make you yearn for something better. But just so you know, Scorpio, on the 19th of January, the North Node, which is almost like the overall vibe that we're all drawn towards, it's like a collective energy, moves from the sign of Gemini into your opposite sign of Taurus, the sign of relating. So you have the North Node, Uranus, but crucially, you're going to have 2 eclipses this year in your sector of relating. And the first one which occurs on the 30th of April, is going to be conjunct Uranus, but also forging a sextile to your traditional ruler of Mars. And so that really gives you an enormous opportunity in the following 6 months to be as open-minded as possible about the type of people that you can relate to. So Uranus can be a very positive influence this year. It is in a clash with Saturn through to the 21st of January. They are at a right angle within 3 degrees at the turn of the year, so there's going to be an echo of their restriction from last year, but I don't think it's going to be as potent. So that's something that you're really going to appreciate. But those eclipses in your sign, there's also a lunar eclipse which occurs on the November the 8th in the sign of Taurus. That's also going to be emphasizing your relationships too. But what about the polar end of those eclipses? Because of course the signs of Taurus and Scorpio, both fixed signs, are directly opposite one another. So it is true that how you feel about something is not necessarily how the person you're relating to feels about it. So those eclipses actually flip round. So there's 2 in your sign as well as the 2 in Taurus. So this year is an opportunity to grow as an individual. The first house eclipse, which is in your sign on the 25th of October. And this also coincides as being your personal new moon. And what makes this particularly radiant for you is that it combines with the magnificent energies of Venus. You've got it, but this time not retrograde. So that Venus conjunction with the Sun and the Moon and the eclipse in your sign in the last quarter of this year gives you a fantastic opportunity to showcase what makes you different, imaginative, your flair, your innate allure in terms of romantic relating. So that's something to really look forward to. But I think there is the opportunity this year to grow as an individual, but grow in terms of how you relate to the special people in your life. And of course, if you're single, you may be really hoping that someone can come into your world, and with Venus can join in with Pluto at the start of this year, I think it's going to be the way you communicate your ideas that someone can be drawn to. The kind of magnetism that you naturally have is definitely enhanced hugely this year, and that's something to really be excited about. And also with that North Node in your sector of relating. So in general this year, everyday communications, the 3rd house of Capricorn, the 2nd house of the foundations and how you feel about yourself, your self-worth, that's also given a boost. And then how you relate to others is given a major leg up too. But of course, we also have Jupiter, the planet of fortune. And Jupiter is in your sector of romance through to the 9th of May. And then it's coming back into your sector of romance later in the year when it returns on the 28th of October back into Pisces. It then moves on the 21st of December back into your 6th house of structure and work. So if you are wanting to launch a new career this year, there's definitely a chance from the 10th of May through to the end of October. But I feel that part of your situation this year is really going to be wanting to feel much more fulfilled around relationships. And so when Jupiter returns to Pisces, even though it's retrograde, I think that could be something that's very, very good for you. Now, of course, the Mercury retrogrades are always something that challenges us, but they also give us opportunities. And I think a lot of professional astrologers spend a lot of time reassuring people that Mercury retrograde isn't something that is going to be very serious. It's more a serious opportunity to make sure that the part of life that retrograde is occurring in is an area that we're active in, making sure that we're maintaining our position as best we can. So the first one begins on the 14th of January in your 4th house of emotion and family, and it then rewinds into the sign of Capricorn. So that could be a conversation that you then have with a sibling that you need to have. The The one that begins on the 11th of May is in the deep and passionate 8th house, quite sensual, but then returns to your sector of related. So maybe a bit of a mystery will then get clarified. And then later in the year, in your 12th house, in the sign of Libra, from the 10th of September, and then it returns to your 11th house. So something that seems a bit of a mystery and you can't make sense of could then get clarified. So see Mercury retrogrades as an opportunity to progress. There's also 4 this year. The last 3 days of the year sees Mercury retrograde in Capricorn as well. So the new moon for you this year is particularly special because Venus, as I said, is a beneficial influence. It can be lucky. Its combination with the sun and the moon and the power of the eclipse for you can amplify what makes you unique and different. You have 2 eclipses in your sign this year, which also give you the opportunity to do that. But equally, the converse is true. You have 2 eclipses that help you to work harder at relating to others more successfully. With the North Node in your sector of relating along with Uranus, and Uranus not in such an intense and distracting right angle with Saturn, I feel that there will be less irritation on the home front. But of course Saturn is still in your 4th house, so there may be some repairs to do, there may be some changes at home. You may still need to work hard at sharing how you feel, the more intimate feelings you have, if that's something you find challenging. And as I said before, Scorpio people can be quite private. Personally, I don't like the word secretive. And then Mars, your traditional ruler, on the 20th of August, does move into your sector of intense sensual passion, the 8th house. But if you really want to improve your earning power in the last months of this year, then certainly Mars being in the 8th house can make you very determined to do so. But it does go retrograde from the 30th of October. So if you are trying to launch a business, being more entrepreneurial, yes, you can find a lot more drive and traction initially with Mars's help, but it's also important not to try too hard or force things in order to get what you want. Mars is about desire. The 8th house is a very instinctive part of our nature. It's almost like we can be pulled to its darkness, but also its very sweet pleasures. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's always going to be good for us. So temptation can be strong in the last quarter of this year, but there's so much for you to go for this year. But do be mindful of the solar return. I think the solar return at the start of the year does provide a backdrop of energy for the whole of the year, but there's a lot for you to go for. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Scorpio. If you'd like to order your personal year 2022 forecast, please see the link below. If you order in year 21, you get the rest of the year free, plus a character analysis, 30% off. Please see the link below.